So I'm going to take a guess at what this is, as in what episode this is. I'm not actually. Do you know what? I'm actually looking it up.
I know, actually.
It's episode 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only know that because there's one album that I was going to talk about, and I'm like, did we talk about that last time? And I had to go check the episode, and I'm like, okay, good, we did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. I had to check out one of the albums I'm going to talk about, and I was like, did I? But then I saw that it was May since the last time we did one of these. I was like, well, been busy, festival season and all that.
Yeah, but I really do think that, like, it really helps us sort of weed out, like, the albums that we really want to talk about instead of just trying to force in some stuff to do monthly content or whatever, It just, I feel like the episode's already started, huh? Is that?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is the intro before the intro, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the intro before. Hey guys, welcome to Old Bollocks, episode 22. We're back. My Patreon, his Patreon, everybody's Patreon. Just go to Patreon, give us some money, chuck some money our way. And download the podcast, interact, tell us what you think. If you agree, if you've discovered albums because we liked them, or if we didn't like them. I mean, I'll bring it up again. I didn't like the new Atrophy album, but someone out there went, oh, didn't even know it was out, and I really like it. So, hey, it's all gravy. It's all good. We've officially started the show.
Yes.
And I need to, because we're going to have to tag them, despite the fact there's no review. We are going to have to tag them in this show, because this show really officially starts with a personal apology to Four-Stroke Baron.
What happened with Four-Stroke Baron now?
well, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. There was a burgeoning brotherly love occurring over Instagram messaging. The day before, the Friday night before they were due to play here on the Saturday, I did a guest spot with Inquire Within. Fine, no problem. Walked off stage, I chat, right, I'm going home, went down the stairs, and as I put my foot on the ground at the bottom of the stairs, tweaked my calf. Now, at the time, I thought it might have even been my Achilles, but I injured my calf back in Easter, about 2 weeks before we went away and played a few shows. So I had my calf all strapped up then, and I've been working on it ever since. But it pulled again, and so by the time I got home, I was full on limping. Literally kind of dragging my leg behind me, couldn't wait to get home, start icing it and all the rest of it. And I waited till Saturday morning. I thought I'd give it the night. Saturday morning, I was like, nah, man, this is still no good. And the last thing I can be doing is like standing around or walking. And it ice, compression, elevation, etc.
Yeah.
So I sent a message to Four-Stroke Baron with the bad news. Now, the thing is, right, I'm talking to you now, guys, okay? I know what it's like. The person who messages on the day and goes, oh, I can't make it. It's the cardinal sin. They're dead to you. It is the cardinal sin. You wouldn't believe how many people on the guest list don't turn up or pull out on the day.
Yeah.
Right. And you never really take those people seriously ever again. So I just want to say to Four-Stroke Baron, if I could have been there, I would have. I absolutely promised you. I was gutted, absolutely gutted. And I wanted to be there. Yeah. Even better, they were third on the bill. I wouldn't have had to watch much of they wouldn't have played very long. And we could have spent some time hanging out, which is great.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. And that is all absolutely genuine. I'm 54, guys. You pull your calf opening the fridge fucking door. So I am sorry. The reason I say this is I sent them a message describing all of this on the morning of the gig, and never had a reply. Nothing. Not just radio silence. So that's why I'm doing this, because I know that they're thinking, nah, he's all mouth and trousers. fuck him. We put him on the guest list. He let us down on the day. You know, British or not, he's not getting a pass on this one. Okay, so
I don't think that they're the kind of dudes to hold a grudge about something like that. So I don't think that's the case.
Look, I'm not saying it's a grudge. I'm saying that this is how it works. It's like an unwritten rule. When you're in a band and someone messages like on the day and goes, "Oh, I can't make it."
Yeah.
You see the message and you just, no matter who it is, you just go, "Oh, fuck you." You know, there's something about it. I can't explain it. So I absolutely, in their shoes, I get it. But I'm throwing myself on their mercy, and hopefully, you know, there's a bit of distance now, and they've got over the hurt and the upset that I caused. But I was genuinely hurt, and you know, I just want to say, guys, very sorry, very sad I missed you. You know, you come halfway around the world, and I go, "Oh, my leg hurts." I get it. I'm sure that's how it read at the time. That's not what it was. So there you go. I'm still doing fucking exercises. I've got to keep rehabbing it till the end of this month. Then I can try running. But yeah. So anyway, there you go. What a great start that is.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? There's that part of me whenever I hear bands talk about things like that, like people on guest lists not showing up, and I'm like, nobody ever puts me on a fucking guest list. The amount of press and shit, you know, I'm for my small YouTube channel that I do for bands, and like nobody ever says, "Hey, do you want to be on the list?" I'm just like, yeah, I'm waiting for that because I will go. I will go, and you know what? I'll bring a crutch if I fuck up my calf. I'll be there.
Well, look, dude, you just, you know, maybe you got to stop waiting and just like, you know, suggest it, you know, put it out there. Hey, you know, any chance of guest list? Can you stick me on the list? Just casually.
I know. Why do I have such a hard time asking for things? That's why I don't have like a Patreon or anything like that, because I feel so embarrassed asking for things. So it's like,
right.
It's just, even with you, like I know you pretty well. And remember, like I reached out to you and said, "Hey, could you do a thing for my radio station?" Which like plays all the time and sounds cool as fuck. But like even just sending that, I went, "Oh, why do I gotta ask for something?" I don't want to ask.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, probably why we get on so well, my attitude is, what you don't ask for, you don't get.
Yeah.
I'm the other end of the scale. You will do everything that you can to avoid asking, whereas that's where I'll start. That's my starting point.
Yeah.
So
I try my best to like move forward, because some of the things that I've done with my channel have been because I've taken a shot. And so I'm getting better. I'm getting better at taking shots. So we'll just
asking for interviews. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no.
Yeah.
That's the thing you've always got to bear in mind. What is the worst thing that can happen? Is that somebody will say no. If they say no in an arseholey way, then great. You've also found out that they're an arsehole. Well, that's useful to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, Dave, you can ask me for anything you like anytime, mate. Unless it's put me on the guest list for 4-Stroke Baron, I won't fucking show up.
Oh man!
I was lying on my sofa, couch if you're American, and I was just lying there like, I could be hanging out with the boys right now, and I'm just fucking watching Netflix, or rather, I'm skating through Netflix, trying to find something to watch, and by the time I've done that, it's like I've watched 2 movies because I've just spent fucking 6 hours doing that. Yeah, you know, just sucks, man.
It's too bad it didn't happen on a night where there were those riots happening over there, and you could have been like, sorry, lads, riots.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, nothing near me, but there you go. So should we get started? Do you want to kick us off with a piece of work? How many have you got for us, right?
I've got 4, and only one of them you might talk about because you've talked about this band before. But other than that, the other 3 you probably aren't talking about.
Well, I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 albums, but then I've got 1 EP and 2 singles by the same band.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so, I'll kick it off with the one that you may have at least heard if you're not going to talk about.
Okay.
because you reviewed this band's last single several episodes back. The new 200 Stab Wounds album.
Oh, dude, now you're talking my language. It's on my list. It's on my list.
Manual Manic Procedures. Look at that album cover. What the fuck is going on there?
I know. Yeah.
And I love this band. I liked them already, but then I got to see them live, and that really like took it over the edge for me, where I was like, they were so fucking good. And so I was looking forward to this album, and it's their first on Metal Blade. So like that's one of the sometimes there are those bands that get signed to like a legendary label, and I go, they deserve to be on that label. It's death metal for those of you who don't know 200 Stab Wounds. But the thing that I really like about this band, and especially on this album, is that there's enough traditional sounding death metal stuff to where it can't be mistaken for anything else, but they do not get stuck in the cliches. No. And there's no like overusing the blast beats.
Nope.
And I love that they embrace the groove side of death metal, because that's where my heart is when it comes to death metal. I love the more groove oriented stuff. And and I think a lot of that has to do with, I got to give a shout out to the drummer, because the drummer, the best way I can describe it, I would hear parts of the song where he would get pretty simple with the drums, and I'm like, that's a classy move. He's like, I don't need to show off at this part. It needs to be. It needs to be a simple groove, and I'm like, that's the. And you know, there's always those jokes about like your band's only as good as your drummer or whatever, and I think in certain respects, it's true when it comes to, you know, especially like death metal bands and stuff, because sometimes the drummer is just way too overbearing. It's just I can't get.
I'm gonna be talking about that later, but it's got nothing to do with death metal.
And the production on this album is there's newer death metal bands that are doing this thing that I like, where it's heavy but it's clear. It doesn't sound like super overproduced, but they're also not heavy-handed and trying to make it sound old school. It's just very nice sound. The songwriting is interesting. Agree. You don't quite know where the songs are going to go. It's not cookie cutter type shit. And the most important, well, not most important, but a very important aspect in albums for me is this thing clocks in at 29 minutes.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
it's
9 tracks.
It's just perfect. Like everything about it, it hits all the marks I want the album to hit, and then it's done. And congratulations, 200 Stab Wounds. I think that they're for newer bands getting a lot of hype, they 100% deserve it. So,
well, look, to back up everything you said, including the production, which I love, because I feel like it's got a an old school feel, but it's got the modern sonics. It's really nice. Again, the drummer, like not overplaying it, and you know, leaving room for everything to breathe, which is great. Mm-hmm. Also, personally, I think I kind of spotted maybe some like hardcore feel to it at times as well, as opposed to just straight death metal all the time. I think they're confident in their sound, and they're mature enough to go, hey, you know, we can go outside of the laws of death metal. We can do what we want. We're a band, and there's a dude from Code Orange singing on one song, so it's like, they're kind of they're really right across the map, and I love that.
I don't know if it's happening over there in the world of death metal and hardcore, but over here those two worlds are really crossing over, hardcore and death metal. Like you'll see bills where it is death metal and hardcore bands playing together. So, and it works.
It very much is. And also the other point, 29 minutes, basically 200 stab wounds. They're going to come around your house, kick the shit out of you for 29 minutes and then leave, because they're done. Yeah. They'll turn up, kick you, leave you as a bloody mess, and walk out the door and say, yeah, we're done. Should we pay your neighbor a visit? well, yeah, it was right there for me to talk about as well. I've been really enjoying it. And yeah, every base is covered. You know, there's so much to enjoy about this. There's a bit of thrash, there's a lot of death, there's a little bit of hardcore, there's originality, there is old school, there's all sorts. It's for a death metal album, I which essentially it is. I kind of feel like they touch a lot of other bases as well. So for me, yeah, I have been waiting for this album to come out. I've been waiting for this album since they put out, you know, like just singles. So there was Fatal Reality, Masters of Morbidity, which was the single which I absolutely loved. Yeah. And also I've gone back. I already had Slave to the Scalpel. Yeah. And I've gone back because it's re-released recently. And the new album has given me kind of like, I don't know, it's given me renewed enthusiasm for Slave to the Scalpel, which I have to say I'm playing the shit out of as well. So it's Manual Manic Procedures, by the way, in case we haven't mentioned that. Yeah. By 200 Stab Wounds, and let them in your house and they're going to stab you 200 times in 29 minutes.
The last thing that I want to say about it, which I really love about them, is I love the vocals, but every time I hear the vocals, the way that it sounds to me, I'm all like, man, that microphone has got to be wet when the fucking show is over, because he sounds like everything's just coming out of his mouth, including all sorts of saliva. It sounds just brutally moist.
Yes. Yeah, it's well, yeah, I love them. I love every aspect of it.
Yeah.
It works. It works.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's go with my first release, which I have to state right out front that I have skin in the game on this album. It brings back a lot of great memories for me. And it is the new live album by Exodus called The British Disaster.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, we released live tracks. We were the support band on that tour. We were the support band on that show. We recorded our set that night as well, and we put the live tracks out in 1989. And apparently the Exodus live tracks have just been found. So I don't know what happened there, but it came out recently, and I mean, it's been recorded the old school way. 1989, it was recorded in a mobile broadcast unit.
Yeah,
it was. You know, this was properly recorded. It sounds fucking great. It sounds as good as any live album you're going to see. It starts just absolutely brutally, and it never stops. And there's all sorts of little kind of things in there that I remember from being on tour, and you know, like the coming of the tide. We all just walked around saying that all the time.
So not to interrupt and we'll veer off a little bit, but the live tracks, Acid Rain, that were recorded there, were those the ones on the Humanoia single? Was that
and the Hanging on the Telephone single? Yeah, all the live songs released by Acid Rain, all of them are from that show, are from that night. Interesting.
All right, cool.
And yeah, so yeah, obviously skin in the game, but what an album! And do you know what? It's really weird. Is that I was listening and I was like, oh my god, they only had 3 albums out when we toured with them. It was their 3rd album.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. I mean, I've always known that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy. So yes, I've got skin in the game on this, but if you are in any way a lover of Exodus thrash metal live albums, any one of those 3, then you should be climbing over broken glass to get a listen to this, or just, you know, listen to Spotify. But yeah, just awesome. It just captures an era. It captures the night. It's fucking great. It really is.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard it because I didn't know that that's the era it was from. I've seen it, like people posting about it, but I never really looked into it to know like when it's from or whatever. But that's way more up my alley. I'm not interested in a 2000s live Exodus album, but an 89 one or whatever is that's pretty sweet.
Well, it starts with the opening track, for the intro and opening track from Fabulous Disaster, and I think that's
Last
a fucking
Act of
amazing.
Defiance.
Amazing intro. Am I my brother's keeper?
Yeah,
It's just and we're off right from minute one. And the other thing that really stands out about the album is like the playing is just everybody is absolutely nailing it, but fuck me, Tom Hunting does not get the appreciation that he deserves.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal on this right from the get-go. When Last Act of Defiance comes in, you're just like, right, okay, I'm gonna need to sit down for this. Yeah.
Nice.
So, well, there you go, mate. Yeah, check it out.
Cool. All right. Well,
you see, we talk about people having their minds expanded and being introduced to new albums. Sometimes it's each other.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is actually like kind of connected with me a little bit as well. And this is an album that was not on my radar, or a band that was on my radar. An old friend of mine from Austin, where I grew up and lived for many, many years. He's a drummer, and he is a fantastic drummer also. He's literally the drummer that was in local bands that I was always like, why can't he just like quit and start a band with me? Because he's that fucking good. But he joined this band, and the band, I'll show it up. The band is called Mean Mistreater. And this is their debut album, which is called Razor Wire. He doesn't actually play drums on this. He joined soon after they recorded this album, but the album just came out. And so he said, I joined.
Hang on, so that album just came out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So and he said, I just joined this band. It's this metal band. Maybe you'll be into it. And the interesting thing is the kind of music that this is, normally I'm not 100% in on, but this is so well done. So this is like, it kind of sounds like this looks. It's like old school badass denim and leather hard rock / heavy metal.
Okay. It's sounding very much like I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like normally, especially with newer bands doing this sound, normally I'm like, come on, because it's just, I don't know, without it sounds false. Yes, this does not. This sounds authentic, like a fucking band playing in a dive bar, but it's got the riffs, it's got the songs. The vocalist, her voice is raspy and powerful and fits perfectly with the music. It's not the reason it succeeds so much for me is because it's not a cheesy throwback. It's not trying to be retro for retro's sake. It's like music for breaking the speed limit too. It's just so good. And like it's high praise for me because I don't go for this stuff. The old school sounding metal, most of the time I'm just like, yeah, this is fine. And then I move on. But this was one that I heard a couple songs and I just went, this is like really fucking well done and really good. And it's just an energetic and urgent 27-minute album.
Wow. Right. Okay. That is energetic and urgent.
And then there's the band on the back cover. The podcast people or whatever can't actually see that, but so they're from my hometown and they're pretty brand new. But they're they're getting their shit going, and I haven't been able to see them live yet. I've seen some live footage, and they sound fantastic. So I'm waiting for them to come through Houston so I can see them, especially because my buddy Terry is a fantastic drummer. So it was a nice little surprise when like somebody that from your past joins this band and you're like, oh, I don't have to just say, yeah, good job, mate. I can actually be like, this is fucking good, dude. So it makes me happy to do that. So yeah, if you like that kind of shit, then Mean Mistreater, the album's called Razor Wire, and it's a blast. It's an absolute blast. So
there you go. And for podcast fans who are audio only, yes, that cover is from the 80s.
Yeah.
And the album's called Razor Wire. Yeah, the title is from the 80s as well.
Yeah.
What's the band? Mean Mistreater.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't heard, have they?
Which I think is from a song title. I don't know who does the song Mean Mistreater, but I think it comes from a song title. It
sounds almost misogynistic until you throw in that there's a female vocalist. So it's like it's all tying together.
Yeah, yeah. It all works. It all works perfectly well for me.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, yeah. From what works to what kind of works.
Oh.
I don't know. Okay. I am still months later after getting hold of From Hell I Rise by Kerry King. I am.
That was my review right there.
I'm still scratching my head. Every time I play it, I go, "This is really good," and then I forget to play it for weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not sticking. I really don't.
I have an idea. It's because the actual songwriting is utterly forgettable. Like, the performances are great. Mark always sounds amazing. Has that dude ever been on something where he didn't sound amazing? But like, every time I've listened to it, that's what it is. Where I just go, this song gets boring in at like the 30-second mark for shit that's so aggressive. So, yeah. I mean, that was maybe,
dude. Maybe I'm in denial. You know, maybe I am in denial, and I just want it to be really, really good, and it isn't, or maybe it is, and I'm just not feeling it. I don't know. One thing I do know is that, and I would say this to his face, and probably will next time I see him. I'm kind of not loving Mark's performance on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I wanted more of Marcos Agueda, not Marcos Agueda does Tom Araya.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, I absolutely get it. What you're supposed to do on Kerry King riffs.
Yeah.
You know, so I get it. But I was kind of hoping for a bit more of like Marcos Agueda. Now, bearing in mind these songs were finished and everybody had to learn them. Maybe next album we get a bit more Mark.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And one thing I have to say is that in one song, Phil Demmel and Kerry King are trading solos. And if I was Kerry and it came and I'd done my solo and it went to Phil and it came back to me, I'd just go, Phil, carry on.
Yeah.
Carry on. Yeah. Like, what you were doing is really cool. And but that's, you know, it is what it is. There's some really cool parts. There's some really cool songs. I especially like the opening track, not Diablo, the opening little riffy thing, but Where I Reign. I think that's cool as fuck. I really do. But my thing with Mark is that it's the Michael Bolton theory. It's like, as soon as the dude comes in, it's like, where are you going from there, mate?
Yeah.
Where you've started on 10.
Yeah.
There is nowhere to go. You've just got to do 10.
Yeah.
So, but again, you bring what the music needs. So, you know, I get it. And I love Mark to death. And you know, basically what I'm saying here is like, I want more Mark.
So
you know,
so, and what you touched on with, like, if they do another album with this band, that's the only thing that might make this album grow on me, is if I can look at it as though, okay, he's transitioning from being in Slayer and he's trying to do his own thing, but it's almost like trying to make the transition comfortable for Slayer fans. And so his whole idea was like, here's like my half of what Slayer was. Let's bring everyone into this. And then if next time it's a band album where the band writes the songs and Mark just does whatever he feels is necessary for the song, and they put out something that I'm like, this is fucking good, then I'll be able to listen to this album and go, it's transitional. I get it. It's,
yes,
it makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. So yeah, I wouldn't even know what to give it out of 10. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those, but it's been out long enough for everybody to make their own conclusions. But funnily enough, this is the album that I had to go back and see if we did, I can't even remember if I've reviewed it before.
we talked about the first song, I think, that came out, and that was it.
Yes, that's right. I thought there must be a reason. So anyway, there you go. Kerry King from Hell I Rise. I like make up your own mind. I'm sorry. I know this is not very helpful, but I kind of figure anybody who's going to listen to it is going to have listened to it by now. So
I was talking to a friend and I said, look, I feel like if you thought Repentless was really good, then you're going to like this. Because I had the same thing with Repentless where I just thought, this is okay. It didn't wow me. And this is the same thing where I'm just like, there's no way to look at it and go, this is bad. It's just not, I'm not excited about it. So
there's no way to say it's not bad. It's just not good.
I guess. I mean, it's better than I could do, right? So
let's leave it at that, shall we?
Yeah. So what we can go from an album that a lot of people are talking about to one that especially
no one is talking about.
But yeah, especially like your audience. I noticed like whenever like when I used to be able to go to your like live things for your Patreon, your group chat things. Yeah. I would sometimes bring up music and it would just get crickets, and I was like, oh, I forgot. I mean, I can't just bring up any old shit. It's got to be the metals. But this is not metal. It is heavy as fuck, though. This is the new album from Whores, which is called War. This is their second full-length album, but they've been around since like 2010-ish or something.
The sleeve, for listeners, is just a bone. Is that a leg bone, or do we know what bone it is?
I mean, I don't know. But
unlike the song, this bone is not connected to anything.
All of their artwork is a vibe like this, simplistic, with the name of the band really large. All
in caps. Horse, full stop. War, full
the
stop.
Use of the periods. Yeah. So, but these guys are a band from Atlanta, and like I did like way back in the day, I did a Bands You Should Know episode on this band because I had seen them numerous times, and they're just an amazing live band. And then they're just one of those bands where I thought, oh, surely this is going to become a band that everybody fucking talks about. And then it just hasn't happened in the way that I think that it should. And so this is their second full length, and it's just heavy, fuzzed out, aggressive noise rock, a lot of groove. To throw out names that people might know, there's some Helmet aspects and there's some Unsane. In fact, I would go more towards Unsane than anything else, but it's just one of those groovy noise rock things that just makes me feel so good. And they're like honestly the best band at doing this kind of sound right now. And they have been for years now. And it's just great. It hits me in all the places I want, because I love a little noise. I love some heavy ass groove that makes you constantly do the riff face every time the fucking riff comes in.
Yeah.
And then it's 33 minutes. So
you're smashing it, mate. You really are.
It's just, and it's banger after banger. Like this is I just think that they're an interesting band because I feel like the people that would be really into them probably know them, but I'm still pushing it out there. Like, come on, this guy, I don't know why, this, especially this style of music. I just wish there was more bands that were doing shit like this because frankly, because it's the kind of music that I would be making if I was still in bands. Cause as much as I love the thrash metal and death metal, I'm not good at writing that kind of stuff. It doesn't naturally come out of me. But the stuff that's the really fucking heavy, slow, groovy, noisy shit with lots of screaming, that's what naturally comes out of me as an artist. And so I connect with bands like Horrors and whatnot. But it's a great album. It's like I often say, if any of those words sounded good to you, go check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you were talking about that, I was thinking. So there was a couple of things I mentioned last time that you said you were that sort of whetted your appetite. How'd you get along with the Mammal album, the Penny Drop?
I like. Well, here's the thing. I like that album, but if I remember, I actually ended up listening to an earlier album of theirs, and I don't even know what it was called now. But I went through
Majority.
I think that was it. But I just they're a great band, but there was I got led to a song off of an earlier album, and I went and immediately started listening to this, and so I think I've only listened to that newer album like once, and so
it sent you like into the back catalog.
Yeah. And there was just a crazy energy to this one song that drew me to that album. And so I'm just like, they are a great band. They are totally underrated. And, but anyway, right. Okay. So I'm going to go, the last album, that I've got to talk about. And then there's an EP and then there's 2 singles. So the last album that I'm going to talk about, I'll be interested to see if you've heard this. It is Category 7 by Category 7. I have heard this.
Were you going to bring this up?
No. I mean,
right. In that case, I know why. Because you have a rule, and your rule is that you don't come on here and talk about stuff you don't like, because the idea is to keep it positive and enthuse about stuff and share with people stuff that you like.
Well,
so
also,
if you heard Category 7 and you're not talking about it, then I know where you're coming from on this.
It's actually in the middle there because, like,
same here.
You've made me feel more comfortable with trashing something if it deserves it, but I don't think this album deserves it. It just falls so squarely in the middle of me feeling something that I just went, it's going to be the same thing about, like, that's why I didn't bring up the Kerry King album, because it's so just like, some of it's good, some of it's not good, some of it's just whatever. And so that's why. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, funnily enough, I think you liked a comment I put where somebody on the Talking Bollocks social media had said, what do you think the Category 7 album, or are you leaving that for an old Bollocks episode? Yeah. Well, strap yourself in, son. Yes, we're both talking about it. And it sounds like we've both kind of come to the same conclusion. It's the opposite of a band like Slayer, which is it's greater than the sum of its parts. Whereas this, for me, is less than the sum of its parts. You take a lot of really strong elements and you put them all together, and it should all get stronger, right? Yeah. It should be amazing. It's like the first time I heard the lineup of the band Mr. Big, and I thought, right, this is going to be amazing, and it wasn't, and it's never has been.
Come on, Mr. Big ruled.
Oh yeah, okay, whatever. Like, middle of the road rock.
I just love bass players that do all that on the bass.
Yeah, me too. But the song is good. The song has got to be good as well, Yeah. So anyway, look. It doesn't equal the sum of its parts for me. At points, I will literally be like, wow, that's really fucking cool.
Yep.
But that's like maybe one every 3 or 4 songs. And I have to say that for me, there are 2 things that I can't really get on with. And that is the over loud and constantly playing and lacking feel drums.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone's fucking used a drum machine and it's just gone, geez, how do you turn this thing off or down or something?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just overly loud in the production, and that is not Mr. Bittner's fault by any stretch of the imagination. But I've never been a particular fan of his playing, and some people are. So that's just my take. You know, doesn't mean he's a good or a bad drummer or, you know, whatever. He's clearly played in a lot of fucking bands and made a lot of fucking albums. So there's people out there that absolutely love what he does. But on this particular album, I don't. And I think at times it's accentuated by an over drummy production. There's one song where the lyric Nosy Parker makes its rears its ugly head, and every time I just think, who wrote the lyrics on this? My fucking granddad. There's at times I just think that lyrically it's not up to what it should be for me.
It also falls into that category of things that annoy me these days, which is middle of the road outrage lyrics, where it's like, what is this song about? It could go either way. And I'm just like, then don't bother writing the lyrics. Do you know what? I was reading about it recently, and John Bush almost says that. It's like, well, you know, it's like the lyrics can be interpreted, like, you know, it's open to interpretation. Yeah. But I think sometimes if you are gonna nudge towards big subjects, you have to nail your colors to the mast. Especially,
you know, that's the whole point.
I feel more comfortable saying these kind of things now with what's been happening in England, because nowadays people will interpret things and try to assign it to being absolutely fucking shitty to other people. And so in this day and age, if you can interpret it however you want, and it's anything that can be even slightly connected to something political or social, I'm just like, pick a fucking side or don't write it, because there are people in this fucking world that their whole point is to just be shitty to other people, and they will co-opt all kinds of things to make make their shittiness sound better. And so
it's all very well saying, oh, there's loads of information out there these days, and so some people end up thinking this and some people think upending that, and you got to think for yourself. And it's like, well, you know what? Come on, let's just where are we standing on this? Without doubt, there are so, like I said, there's some outstanding moments on the album.
Sure.
First time I heard it, I was kind of like, right, okay. Like this is definitely going to be on the death deck for quite a while. And it quickly got off the death deck. It didn't last as long as I thought it would. I
kind of felt the same way, and I realized that the reason I felt that way at first is because I was focusing solely on John Bush, because I like listening to John Bush sing, and there's a good energy to his delivery in this album. Like, you know, at times I go, man, this sounds like fucking 90s John Bush here on this song. But once I started really kind of paying attention to everything else, and it's true, it's not, for me, it's not just the drums, it's both guitar players doing too much.
It's very full on, isn't it? It's very,
which I guess if that's what you're going for, great, but it's not what I enjoy.
It's like no one in the band ever said no to anyone else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, throw it in, put it in. Okay, cool. Well, over to you, dude.
All right, this is my last one. I don't have a vinyl, unfortunately, because this is not on vinyl, but I would like it to be. But this is
I'd just like to point out the podcast listeners couldn't give a shit.
Yes, sorry guys. This is virtually unknown, and I don't even remember how I stumbled upon this band.
Okay,
but I just stumbled upon it one day and listened to one track, and I went, "Holy fuck!" and I immediately was on board. The band is called Crushuman, which is like all one word, but then like the H in crush is the beginning of the word human, so Crushuman.
Yeah.
They are technically a death metal band from Washington, D.C., and this is their debut, but apparently they were connected to like another smaller band prior to that, and I don't know them either. But the things like I was talking about, like with 200 Stab Wounds, about like embracing like the groove side of death metal, this one hits even more into my sweet spot, because the thing that every time I listen to this album, the two things that immediately like that are always in my head is 90s era Napalm Death, which is my favorite Napalm Death, when they started to get a little groovy and stuff like that, and the first Fear Factory album. Like those two things, there are elements of those things that are all over these songs, and the riffs are almost occasionally pretty simplistic, almost like it's punk death at times. And the fucking the groove is it's literally just like death metal with the groove, and just like in the fucking pocket of like finding this riff, and we're gonna fucking hammer this riff home, and then everything about it. It's just so good. It's just, but it does.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
It really does evoke that 90s Napalm Death thing. And I don't even know if we've ever talked. I don't think you like Napalm Death that much, do you? You're not like a huge fan?
No, not really. No.
Yeah,
I've got, an absolute sack full of respect for them.
Sure.
And they're a very, very important British band to British music in general, never mind metal or hardcore.
Yeah.
And the longevity is like, mind blowing.
And I know I'm not reviewing Napalm Death.
Yeah.
I know I'm not reviewing Napalm Death, and they're continuing to put out some of the strongest shit they've ever done. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy. But there's a sweet spot in the 90s with that band. And this is the first time I've heard a band in a long time kind of hit that death metal, like World Demise era obituary, where it's like they're leaning into this groove, and it just, I love that shit so much. And so this band's really small. You can get this album on CD through their Bandcamp, but there's, as far as I know, like this is, super small release, like brand new band basically. But
yeah,
they are a band that, like, if this is their debut and they continue with this kind of stuff, like, I just watch out for the name Crushuman, because I really think that they're going to be a one that gets picked up by a bigger label, and then, they'll, as big as a death metal band can get, but you know what I mean? Like it'll.
Yeah.
It's just really good shit.
You think they could end up leading a sort of 90s death metal sound movement?
Oh, I would love it. I would love it if more bands would do that. But they also are primed to fit into this, recent thing where death metal and hardcore are flirting with each other and stuff. So it's just great. But yeah, so like, especially if you since you really liked the 200 Stab Wounds, I would suggest I can actually send you this album if you want.
Well, please do. And also, you've brought me back to a really something that links the two, which is, if you are going to listen to 200 Stab Wounds, if you do want to get the album, go to their Bandcamp, because everything is available at Bandcamp. And I know from personal experience that Bandcamp weighs you in financially a lot better than anywhere else. So
that's become what I normally do. Whenever a band announces an album, I immediately go to Bandcamp to see if it's available there. So,
well, it's funny you should say that, because I went to Bandcamp to listen to this band, and they're not on Bandcamp at all.
Who, Crushuman? Oh, the one you're talking about?
No, the next band.
Oh,
but
okay.
Funnily enough, one band who were on Bandcamp, who you do know, are two new singles for the first time in 30 years. we have new DBC Dead
fuck
Brain
yeah.
Cells.
God damn it, how did I forget to talk about these? Thank you, Howard. Thank you. I don't know how I forgot. Shit. All right, good. This is good.
Yeah. And no one's holding any covers up for this because they're released digitally only. Yeah. 2 songs, Pendulum and Sirens. Yeah. And played them both and thought, yeah, all right. And then played them a few more times and I was like, oh my God, I love this. This takes me back to a place. Sounds fucking great.
Exactly the same thing with me. Exactly the same thing with me. The first time I heard them, I go, is this not that good? But then I was like, oh, no, wait, no, I'm wrong. Like it's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The I'm wrong moment. I was like, what? I've waited 30 years for this? I'm not very impressed. And 2 or 3 listens later, I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. They're great. It's like, and it, like, when I heard I feel like it's almost been a couple years now since I heard that they were back together writing music. I was so just like, which way can you go with a band like that with stuff that's so unique and just these 2 fabulous albums? Is this going to be a huge disappointment? And so I think that was when I first heard it, I went, oh no, I was like, bracing for disappointment, but then I kind of let go and went, no, this is for a band, this far along getting back together and these are their first 2 tracks. Yeah, I'm on board. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find them at Bandcamp. Just put DBC in. They're the first band that will come up. Dead Brain Cells, and Pendulum and Sirens, 2 just fucking great songs. And I hope there's an album on the way. I hope there's more songs on the way. Whatever they want to do, I'm down for.
Yeah, everybody go to Bandcamp and buy the 2 digital singles. Yeah. That way they start getting a little tiny bit of money their way, and then
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, seriously, like you're gonna pay what, $2 and get 2 awesome songs, and especially if you're from the UK, that's like, it's less than £2, $2. You're going to get yourself 2 awesome songs. Mm-hmm. And you're going to set yourself up nicely for when more songs drop, and the money's going to go to the band.
Man, I would have felt so stupid if I had forgotten to talk about these songs. So
oh, good, man. I'm chuffed. I'm chuffed that we've got there. Okay, well, in which case you're done, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, now speaking of Bandcamp, I went to Bandcamp. These guys weren't there. It's a band called Immemor, which is Immemor, Immemor, which is quite handy because they actually have the pronunciation on their Instagram, which is just about the only place I can find them. And their EP is called Consuming Death. It's 3 songs. It's out now. The only place I've been able to find it to stream is Spotify, and I don't have Spotify, but I was able to log in to another. Yeah, I'm let's just say I've been able to access the EP, 3 tracks, and it's and funnily enough, I knew about how I found out about them was they supported Cancer Christ, and they were tagged in something. So I saw them playing a show which looked absolutely mental, and so I followed them, found them on Instagram, found the name of the EP, debut EP, went out there, and it's just old school death metal, no fucking about. God, death metal's making an old school death metal this is the death metal episode, isn't it? Really?
Spell that name again for me. I-M-M.
Yeah, I-M-M. Have you searched for them and you can't find them?
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, that's the problem. Immemor. Pauses.
Okay.
Well, he searches.
Okay. At least I'm finding them on the Metal Archives.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Exactly. It's on, but there's no link on Metal Archives to. The only link is, I think, is eBay. And if you go to eBay, it's like, oh, what are you here for? There's nothing by this band.
Bam! Apple Music, ready to go.
Hey, there we go.
I'm adding that to listen to it because, like, yeah, that's Oh yeah, this is so indie that their record label is like the online distributor company that I use for my music. It's like,
Yes, yeah.
so they just
Oh, it's
uploaded.
totally,
Yeah,
it's totally DIY. We'll put it this way: they haven't even got their act together to do a Bandcamp page,
yeah.
which is literally the
I have one of
starting.
those.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the starting point for everybody.
Yeah,
But it's South Central death metal, consuming death. I really really enjoyed it,
nice.
and am enjoying it. So yeah, get your ears around that, man. It's very cool, and it is super DIY. I mean, like no Bandcamp. They've literally one band member has probably like got the wherewithal to say, look, I found this place where we can just upload it. This is the minimum of hassle, and it'll go out on a load of platforms.
Yeah,
Let's just do that, because not every band has got somebody in it who's going to be like, technical. And I definitely think there's no management attached to this band or anything, but
yeah.
they are honestly, seriously worth checking out, because these are three strong tunes, and I look forward to big things from these guys. Definitely.
Nice. I'm always in there promoting the brand fucking new bands, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the clip of the live show I saw was just awesome. It was like a band who are absolutely just lost in what they do. It's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I guess that kind of brings us to the end of this musical journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel pretty good about it though. We didn't technically trash anything this episode. It's been pretty positive overall.
It has. I mean, if anything, it started out by me just trashing me. Laying myself bare for four-stroke Baron to trample on. But other than that, no, I mean, probably category 7 is a sort of, I think that's kind of like meh, and also sort of disappointment, but also some good bits, and kind of that really. But there's, death metal has definitely been the theme of the episode, without a doubt.
I mean, there's a lot of great death metal bands these days, and so I'm enjoying it. Now, I kind of wish I want the thrash bands to start showing up, and because like they're out there, but they're a little too samey, and they haven't quite hit that mark where the production and the songwriting and everything is all locked in and good. There's I hear so many thrash bands where one of those elements isn't right for me, and I kind of just go, this could be better. But I'm ready. I'm ready, thrash bands, especially Acid Rain.
Hey, cool, man. Yeah, we're working hard. Hard. But well, look, dude, it's an absolute pleasure as always. Yeah. And we're going to go away and have a little private chat now. So I'm sorry, listeners, viewers. But
just use your imagination about whatever we might talk about.
We'll go hang for a bit. So anyway, look, as always, this was Old Bollocks. 22 episodes deep now. Going to keep coming at you every now and again. We don't know when they're doing. We don't know when they're going to come on. So just don't hassle us, okay? You'll get them when they're ready. Yeah. And I mean, when there's plenty to talk about, right? It's like you said right at the top.
Yeah. No point. I mean, we're not just putting out content for content's sake. It's when we're good and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Thank you very much to everybody. Look forward to seeing what you've got to say, how wrong we are, how right we are, or just like, oh, cool, I'll go and try and listen to that. So, it's all good. It's all gravy. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Ta-ra. Bye-bye.